Alrighty. Welcome aboard, everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by and joining the stream. My name is Turtle. This is Outlier Fantasy. I have a sleeper draft prepared for us. That's why you can't see my team on Underdog right now. But I figured that being that my slow draft, the pick just happened to be on the clock, I figured we might as well just do that really quick before we jump into the sleeper stream. I took the 112 just in case anybody has picked 12. I felt like I was up for a challenge tonight to start the night, so let's do that. But first, this is a 10-team slow draft league, and I wasn't able to really get the players that I wanted. Let me see if I could go back to my last pick. I took Dallas Goedert because the guy I wanted, of course, went one pick right before me. So, nothing really new here on Underdog. Just getting sniped left and right by everybody. I have 4 running backs that I really like, so I don't know if I'm going to hit running back. But I will... Oh, this is super flex. Okay, I didn't know that. All right, good to know. I'm in a super flex league. But we'll mock it anyway. We'll see how it goes. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I wanted to grab a backup tight end because I don't love my tight end. But I may just wait for Tyler Conklin. That'll probably happen off stream because it's a slow draft, obviously. In terms of the wide receivers I'm looking at right here, I don't really need a wide receiver, but Jacoby Myers is screaming his name out at me, so I feel like even though it's a low passing offense, he's an option. I love Adonai Mitchell, so that's always an option. I actually had somebody comment on my YouTube video that I dropped earlier today, and his name was Adonai Mitchell Worshipper, so shouts out to that guy. Hopefully he's in the stream somewhere floating around, but if not, all good. Jerome Ford is not a bad option, but like I said, I don't need a running back. Is it time to dip for a quarterback? Could take Herbert. You know what? I'm not going to get Goff if I don't get Goff on the way back, so let me just do that. Being that my QB is Anthony Richardson, I need an insurance plan in case he gets injured, so I feel like that makes the most sense. Now let's get to, let's get to Sleeper here. On Sleeper, this is a 12-team underdog, 12-team super flex. I keep saying underdog. But yeah, probably going to end up leaving this draft room because nobody's filling it up. Let's see if we can find something else in the meantime. I am out of here. Let's see what's going on in the world of mock drafts. Let's try to get something fun and exciting. They're still trying to fill up. You know what? I'll take the 12 spot if you're going to leave it. This is the super flex league I just left, so let me leave that. Obviously rookie mistakes out here. It's a 10-teamer. I guess we could do that. Do that for fun. 105, sure, why not? And let's hope this gets started. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you guys have any fantasy football related questions, now would be the time to ask. I'm trying to make sure that I hit all draft spots, so we'll start here in the middle of the draft at 105. I think this is an interesting pick because I'm going to get one of the 3 wide receivers that I'm personally a fan of in Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Hopefully one of them does land to me and I can grab them, but if not, all good. If anyone would like to run a draft with me on Sleeper, feel free to let me know in the chat and we can make that happen, no problem. As the draft should go, CMC, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, those are the big 3. That's probably my, S tier or first tier of players that should be going in every single draft, as long as it's not super flex, of course, because then it gets a little interesting. It looks like I may have a chance to grab Justin Jefferson because Breece Hall just got taken before me, so I have no problem taking Justin Jefferson right here. If this is your first time in the stream, just want to start by saying thank you for joining. Thank you. And, if you have any fantasy football questions, feel free to shoot your questions, and I'll get back to them as soon as I can. After I take Justin Jefferson, Bijan Robinson comes off the board, followed by Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is a great pick this year. Let's see what happens at pick 9. Just turning my phone notifications off. I don't know if you could hear the vibrating from the Sleeper app notifications on my phone. That is not vibrations from anything else, I can promise you that. But yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs comes off the board, Saquon Barkley and Marvin Harrison. That starts at round 2, which is totally fine. Don't see a problem with any of that. I'm looking to take a running back with my next pick because I really love the values that I can find in round 3 at wide receiver. But worst case, I can land a Isaiah Pacheco or Devon Achane, Derrick Henry if need be. But we'll see how this goes. Waiting for the team with Bijan Robinson at 106 to make their pick. They go running back. So it doesn't seem like I'm going to get a running back that I love if I take a running back. That hurts. This is where the draft gets very interesting for me because I could take Davante Adams, but I don't want to. Best available would be Travis Etienne, but I'm going to reach for Derrick Henry because I think Derrick Henry is going to have a phenomenal season this year. I think the upside, and if you watch the video that came out today, I am someone that is a believer that Derrick Henry could score as much as 20 touchdowns on the ground, and I know he's not going to be someone who runs for high rushing yardage, but the touchdowns are what's going to get us our fantasy points. So, yeah, I'm very happy with taking Derrick Henry there, even though it's a reach. I could understand taking Travis Etienne. I personally don't want Puka Nacua because, like I said, if I take 2 wide receivers, then I have to go running back in these rounds where I get absolute values at wide receiver. So I'd rather just take the running back now, sweat it, not forget it, all that good stuff. So after Puka Nacua comes off the board, Travis Etienne and Devon Achane follow, and now the 101 is back on the clock for a double pick. If I were him, let me take a look at the roster. Okay, he took Drake London. That's more than fair. I wouldn't be surprised if he stacked Josh Allen here. I feel like having 2 fantasy game breakers like a Josh Allen and a CMC is a ideal start to any fantasy draft. But going Davante Adams, there's no problem with that. I'm a little personally concerned with the offense in Vegas. I know he performed and finished as a wide receiver 10, and he is the 11th wide receiver off the board, so it's not like you're really reaching for somebody like him, but I don't know if he's going to finish as a top 10 receiver again. You might be taking him at a ceiling at 11 due to the fact that they ran the ball a lot more once they had the coaching change, and bringing in an offensive coordinator that likes to run the ball kind of concerns me in terms of getting Davante Adams his absolute highest value. A lot of the really good wide receivers are coming off the board here. I really like Isaiah Pacheco, so if I take Isaiah Pacheco here, who I feel like personally is a value at this point in the draft, I can circle back, use 4, 5, and 6 rounds to grab guys like maybe Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, Metcalf. I think Neighbors' ADP is a little rich, but if he's there, I will take him or at least consider. And worst case, Devontae Smith is my second wide receiver behind Jefferson, which I think is a good problem to have in my opinion, but that's just me. Jalen Waddle just came off the board at 306. I think that's a great pick. I personally wouldn't be taking a quarterback or tight end this early in the draft, so I totally get taking somebody like Waddle. That's a smart pick. Respect to that guy. I don't know how to say his name, so I'm not even going to try it. Surprisingly enough, Deebo Samuel goes before Brandon Ayuk, which I personally agree with, despite Sleeper's ADP disagrees with that. And yeah. After Brandon Ayuk is Josh Jacobs. I personally don't think that that's a very good pick this year, but I could absolutely be wrong about that. We'll see how that goes. Travis Kelce ends that's a great stat. Getting Kelce and Mahomes at the 3-4, but the fact that Josh Allen is still here is pretty ridiculous. He should be gone in the next 4 picks before I pick, so I'm not expecting him to be there or be an option for me. But I would take him if he was there. I definitely would take him if he was there. Again, if this is your first time watching the stream, thank you so much for stopping by. If anyone would like to participate and draft, feel free to let me know in the chat. We could work something out where we get in the same sleeper draft. If you want to see me draft on Underdog, do Best Ball. If you want to see me on ESPN, any other platform, just let me know in the chat. We'll make it work. And if you have any fantasy football questions, now is the time to ask. We could talk strategy, kind of talking about game plan and what I would do at this middle of the draft at 105. I'm sure the same kind of follows for if you're 104 or 106. You're basically going to get the same, quality of players or be able to use the same type of strategy. It just might be, you get Jonathan Taylor and not a Derrick Henry. But, yeah. Or if you were at the, 104, you could get ETN or HN. I'm back on the clock, and it looks like all the wide receivers that I was considering are gone. Josh Allen is available, and I normally wouldn't take a quarterback this high, but I am considering it. I might wait back just to see if I could get a better value later on. DJ Moore is here, but I'm going to take Cooper Kupp. I know it's a little bit of a reach, but I personally think he's going to have a good bounce-back season, and if someone told you that you could start a draft with Justin Jefferson, Derrick Henry, and Cooper Kupp, they'd be like, man, that team is on crack. So I like my foundation so far. Josh Allen goes right after Malik Nabers. So that's a great value pick, in my opinion, taking Josh Allen here. As I said, I wouldn't take a quarterback this early because maybe I could wait a little longer and take Anthony Richardson, who I am a personal big fan of this year. Or worst case, I could get a Joe Burrow, Dak, or Kyler Murray, wherever he's ranked. Yep. Ranks below Dak. So I could get one of those guys and have no problem doing so. And I'm actually going to be honest. If Jalen Hurts makes it back to me, I may just take him. Even though my strategy going into this was take the wide receivers as they come. Jalen Hurts comes off the board, so I don't have to make that decision, which is great. In terms of wide receivers that I'd be looking at, I guess I'd be okay with reaching for T. Higgins if I don't get Devontae Smith. But Devontae Smith is probably going to be the best option. So I have Jefferson week 6 bye. Cooper Kupp is a week 6 bye. So I definitely need to avoid taking another wide receiver with a week 6 bye. Thank you, Joe, typing in the stream. I really appreciate that. I personally feel the same way. I just felt like in terms of ADP, it was fair to say that he is a reach. I think if he lands to you in the middle of the 4th, you should absolutely be slamming that. This is a 10-team league, so it's kind of like a little easy to get good value. But, yeah, I don't really think it's a reach. I would rather Cooper Kupp over DJ Moore, Malik Nabers. But that's just my opinion. But thanks for joining the stream. I really appreciate it, Joe. Mark Andrews comes off the board. So I have a chance to get Lamar Jackson, which is interesting. I'm going to hold off. Right now I'm looking at, I could get a third running back in Joe Mixon and know that I don't have to touch running back for the rest of the draft. But given concerns about, I don't really know how much he's going to get volume-wise or injury, I'm probably going to take Devontae Smith knowing that I don't have to worry about wide receivers anymore. I can kind of just play the draft as it comes to me. I have my three wide receivers. I have my 2 running backs. I'm not sure what the format for this mock draft is, if it's 2 flex, 1 flex, 3 wide receivers, but regardless, I could slot Devontae Smith in the flex in theory. That's a pretty good foundation so far with the first 5 picks. And this would kind of be my strategy if I was in the middle of the draft. But if you have a draft in a different slot, you want me to start at the 101 or the 102 or make my way towards a double pick, maybe we could do like a 12-man, make it a little more complex. This is a real interesting team at pick 9. Goes Garrett Wilson as his wide receiver 1 and decides not to take another wide receiver at all and just goes 4 straight running backs. Now, he does have running back depth clearly, but I really only like Saquon Barkley and James Cook. I mean, Joe Mixon is a great, bench piece, or eventually Josh Jacobs would probably end up making it to his bench. But Joe Mixon is a solid flex play. No doubt about it. He just kind of needs to fill out his team a little bit, in my opinion. Theo, what is going on, my guy? How are you doing, brother? Hope all is well. Thanks for joining the stream, as always. Really appreciate it, man. Right now we're doing a 10-team mock on Sleeper. It was just the first available, so I jumped right in. But yeah. Someone said in the chat that they don't like me. I guess I sniped them on Devontae Smith. Too bad you took DK Metcalf from me, so I guess we're even. But yeah. When it comes back to me, I could take Anthony Richardson. I do love Anthony Richardson, but I know that there's only two other teams that need a quarterback, and if this guy doesn't take Stroud, I may just possibly pass and hope that Richardson falls back to me. And right now I'm looking at either, well, there goes T. Higgins, so that's not an option anymore. I'm doing great, Theo. Thanks for asking. Right now I'm looking to potentially grab another wide receiver, even though I said I'm good on wide receivers for now. Actually, I'm going to do what the heart is telling me to do. I'm going to take Anthony Richardson here. I take Anthony Richardson in a lot of these mocks. I just feel like he really does have potential to be a lot better than what he is. If you watched my video today, that's out now, you can, leave out of the stream and come right back, watch that video real quick. I talk about my dark horses for an overall 1 finish in fantasy. So QB1, running back 1, wide receiver, and tight end, who has the potential to make it to the top. And I think that Anthony Richardson has a good chance to be QB1 as long as he's healthy. He's a very talented player, has rushing upside. Durability is the biggest concern, but other than that, great player, great opportunity in Indianapolis with Shane Steichen, a great offensive coordinator, and has all types of weapons around him, like Pittman, like Adonai Mitchell, Alec Pierce. They have an interesting tight end room, and of course, Jonathan Taylor is a great running back who can catch passes out of the backfield. So I like Anthony Richardson's situation. When it comes back to me, I may have a chance to get George Kittle because only one team doesn't have a tight end, and they're picking right now. So it's possible they take George Kittle. They elect for Amari Cooper, which is totally fine with me. That's somebody I wasn't really looking to take. Jack got me feeling good, boys. I'll tell you that much. Rashee Rice goes. I would have loved to have Rashee Rice. If I really wanted him, I should have took him after T. Higgins went, but I got sniped on T. Higgins. But yeah, Evan Ingram comes off the board before Kittle, so I feel like as long as Mr. Mark Andrews, team owner, doesn't take George Kittle should be the pick here. I think that's a value. At the 65th pick in this draft, I'm getting a 56 ranked overall player. Not that that really means anything, but definitely would be a top 60 player for me. To get him after the top 60 mark is very good. Dalton Kincaid went right before T. Higgins. I didn't even notice that. And Kyle Pitts. So the fact that I'm getting George Kittle after those guys is very interesting to me. Happily take George Kittle. One thing I don't love to do is double up on QB and tight end, but this is just kind of how the draft fell to me. I didn't really love my options. I could have took DeAndre Swift. I have no interest in Ramondre Stevenson, but if I wait longer, I could potentially go for it. Najee Harris just came off the board. I was going to say his name, so I'm not even going to say the next guy's name, but I would have took his backup, because if I say his name out loud, somebody's going to snipe me for sure. But after Najee Harris, Rome Odunze comes off the board. I think that's a good pick. Mr. Garrett Wilson team still doesn't have a second wide receiver, so he's going to have to take a Keenan Allen, Christian Kirk, or Jaden Reed, I would suppose. He elects for Christian Kirk, which is totally fine. I think that's a good pick. Maybe not the best second wide receiver, but when you have 4 running backs like that, I guess that's where the balance comes in. Zamir White ends the 7th round, and now we're going into round 8. I have my quarterback, I have my tight end, so I'm looking to either grab, players like Raheem Mostert potentially. Not really looking to take Nick Chubb just because I don't really know for sure if his status is, a go for week 1 yet or not. For those that are watching, August 27th is a very important date, so that's 10 days from now. that's when teams are going to have to make their final roster cuts. So keep an eye out on August 27th. We should get news on whether they're going to keep Nick Chubb on the active roster, which means he could be eligible for week 1, or if they're going to elect to keep him on the PUP list, which means he has to miss, I believe, the first 4 weeks of the season minimum. And then he could return as early as week 5. But if he does come in as... Hold on, let me make my pick. Enough yapping out of me. Tony Pollard's here. Looks like I could wait on taking Jaylen Warren. This is probably where I should have took a quarterback or a tight end and not the other guys. Hollywood Brown out of bed, bench piece. I have to make a pick quick, though. I like Jaylen Warren, so I'm just going to take Jaylen Warren here. I know it's a little bit of a reach. That one is actually a reach, but I just don't need the quarterbacks that are available. So, yeah. The fact that C.J. Stroud is still here and going after guys like Kyler Murray is crazy to me, but to each their own. You know, I'm reaching for guys, they're reaching for guys. It's all good. It's all good over here. If you guys have any fantasy football questions, want me to draft from a certain spot, please let me know. You want me to draft Superflex, whatever the case is. I know Theo, last time we were on stream, asked for Dynasty. If he wants another one, absolutely have no problem. Here for you guys. Whatever questions you have, shoot your shots. After I take Jaylen Warren, Steve the Great ends up taking C.J. Stroud. I think that's a great value pick in terms of ADP. I didn't need the quarterback, so I was willing to pass it up. I would like to get another running back, but if there is a wide receiver value that I love, I will take that. Deontay Johnson is questionable. I'm sure that's just precautionary in terms of playing the preseason. They don't want him to play the preseason, which is all good. I could double up and take another tight end, but I'm not going to. I like Javonte Williams here. This is an interesting pick. Saying nothing but good things about him. He's 2 years removed from his major injury now, so that's a good sign. I think I'm going to lean towards Javonte Williams if available. Tony Pollard and Zach Moss, and of course, because I mentioned his name, Javonte Williams comes off the board. What else is new? I want to know, why is Tyjae Spears ranked so much lower than Tony Pollard? I don't get it. Where is my guy, Brian Robinson Jr.? Don't tell me. He definitely didn't go already, but... Brian Robinson, okay. He's 111, so I can kind of wait around. I'm going to take Deontay Johnson. I feel like this is a quality wide receiver to take in the middle of your drafts. Not worried about the questionable injury tag, even though I should probably take a look at what it is. Okay, groin injury. Doesn't suit up. Missed the last 2 practices. Groin injuries can linger, so that's an interesting one, but he's a bench piece for now. So worst case, he stays on the bench. In theory, if this was my team, of course. Joe Burrow is still available, and this is round 9, so that's very good to know. If you play in a 10-man league and you're not really too high on taking a quarterback, these people, obviously this isn't going to be 100% how your home leagues or your drafts end up going, but something to keep in mind is that you're going to get a value at quarterback. You don't have to be the schmuck like me that reaches for Anthony Richardson, but I am a fan of him, so I ended up taking him. Judge me. If I had to go, wait for a QB the entire draft, I would probably look to be taking guys like Tua, or where's Jaden Daniels ranked? Jaden Daniels is ranked very low. That's surprising to me. When it comes back to me, I would like Brian Robinson Jr., but I do hear good things about Austin Eckler, so maybe I'll take Austin Eckler instead. I have 3 running backs. I have 4 wide receivers, and the bye weeks are not really conflicting. I have to make sure that I set a good enough lineup, though, because I have Justin Jefferson and Kupp on a week 6 bye. That's fine. Get their bye out of the way nice and early. Have them for the rest of the season. There's only a few more picks to be made, and of course, in these types of leagues. Oh, never mind. I was going to say kicker and defense, but That is not an option, so that's great. Love that. Nobody really cares about drafting kickers and defenses anyway, so that's cool with me. I'm probably looking to take, like I said, a running back. We'll see what lands into my hands. 10-team league, so obviously everyone's got a pretty stacked team for the most part. Very interesting team over here. Got Christian McCaffrey. Nice little duo of wide receivers, London and Adams. QB Jalen Hurts, elite, obviously. Rashad White, interesting number 2. And then nice bench piece wide receivers here, or, going to have a tough decision to make a flex every single week, whereas I just know I'm slapping in Devontae Smith at the flex. Yeah, I'm probably looking to take Austin Eckler, but Devin Singletary is not a bad choice either. Maybe that's who I end up doubling up with instead of Brian Robinson. But we'll see. I kind of like Tajay Spears as well. For the value. This team that just got Joe Burrow in round 9 got an absolute steal. Devin Singletary comes off the board. This makes my life a little easier. I'm going to take Eckler, and I almost want to double dip and take Brian Robinson, but I know that it's not really a handcuff situation where I'm grabbing one of these guys to be effective. I'd be realistically having to decide to play between them every single week. So instead of doing that, I'll just elect to take a running back like Tajay Spears, who I know can have a very good season. Oh, I'm highlighting Trey Benson when I mean Tajay Spears. That's embarrassing. But yeah. If there's any questions that you guys have in the chat, feel free to ask. I'm here for you guys. Whatever questions you have, don't be afraid to ask. No question's a stupid question in fantasy. And if you say something funny or stupid, it's all good. We can laugh about it. No judging here. Curtis Samuel, Brock Bowers, and Jake Ferguson. That's an interesting little duo at tight end. I probably should get another tight end, being that my guy over here is injury prone, but Njoku comes off the board, so it looks like I'm not going to get a backup tight end that I love just yet. Tajay Spears, of course, the pick right before me. What else is new? I do like Brian Robinson. Gus Edwards is an interesting candidate. Could wait and take somebody else instead. Diggs or Tank Dell. I'll get right back to your question after I make my pick. I'm sorry. Hold the phones. I'm probably going to go... Jameson Williams has a week 5 bye, so that's a little dangerous. I'll take Gus Edwards. Oh, okay. Well, I got Gus Edwards anyway. But Diggs or Tank Dell for PPR. Very interesting question. I'm kind of, at the moment, conflicted between the two, obviously, being that they're in the same offense and their ADPs are very, very different. Let's see where they went in this draft just to get an idea. Stephon Diggs went in round 4. Tank Dell goes at the end of round 5. I personally would say that coming off of injury, I would be a little worried about Tank Dell, considering now he's absolutely going to be third fiddle to Diggs and Nico Collins. I think Nico Collins is elite, so it's kind of hard to rank the 3 of them. But I would say that I would prefer Diggs at the richer ADP, even though I'm taking Jaden Daniels here. Even though it's just a tough offense to predict. We have 3 really talented wide receivers, and realistically, only 2 of them can get fed at a high fantasy value. But obviously, we have our concerns about Stephon Diggs, being that he's aging, but we've seen what it looks like when he leaves a team and gets paired with a really good quarterback, that good things just happen naturally for that group. So with that, I'm going to say Stephon Diggs is probably the better pick, even though it costs a higher draft pick. But Dante, thank you so much for stopping by, and thanks for asking your question. Really appreciate that. When it comes back to me, I do need wide receiver depth. I've been fading wide receiver because I didn't love any of my options. I could take a Jacoby Myers. I might elect for Joshua Palmer. Jaylen Warren pulled his hammy today. I did not know that. That's very good to know. Um, that's probably why his rankings and ADP is down a little lower than I expected. But I'm still pretty high on him in terms of the value that he could provide to the offense. I'm not sure this is going to be something that's like a significant long-term injury for him. So I'm okay with taking him. With my last pick in the draft, not a lot of beautiful options to be had. Gabe Davis interests me slightly, but not enough to take him. Joshua Palmer went. Yes. Okay, so let me grab a wide receiver before my time runs out. Dontavian Wicks. I feel like that's a good value. I would like any of the Packer wide receivers. The only worry is somebody like Christian Watkins needs to stay healthy. So, yeah. But in terms of this team, it's 10-man. Obviously, it's stacked. But, yeah, what do you guys think? Let me know. I didn't know about the Jaylen Warren news, so thank you, Dante, for putting me on. This is a 12-team 2-flex. Let's try to jump in and see where we could draft from. Let's go pick 3. Okay, perfect. I was deciding between 101 and 103, and it ended up being that only 3 was available, so we'll do that. Do a little bit of like a front draft pick, and then I'll try to find a room where I can go into the back and figure out what we're going to do from there. Again, not really too concerned about Jaylen Warren's injury unless we hear something significant. Do you think the Vikings QBs are good enough to support Justin Jefferson? That's a great question. My answer to that is absolutely. Now, I'll give you a little piece of advice for myself. I'm drafting in a league at the 104 in my home league. Okay, I'm not going to let Christian McCaffrey go past 3. So I'm just going to take Christian McCaffrey. But I have the 104 in my league. I have a chance to take Justin Jefferson. And it's not the QB play that I'm concerned about at 104. I am more inclined to take somebody like Amon-Ra St. Brown, who has a much safer floor, lower risk of injury. I know exactly what I'm going to get out of him every single week. He's in a really good offense. I don't have to worry about him. But I would understand why someone would want to take Jefferson before Amon-Ra St. Brown. But me personally, I like Amon-Ra slightly more than Justin Jefferson. But there's no doubt about Justin Jefferson being an elite talent. Again, this has nothing to do with your question, but back to the QB play. He had bonker games with Nick Mullins at quarterback. He had bonker games with Kirk Cousins as his quarterback. Considering that he's not really somebody that's like, I don't want to degrade what Stephon Diggs is, but somebody like Stephon Diggs really benefits from somebody who can throw the ball 30 yards down the field when he's wide open streaking, whereas Justin Jefferson can run slants for 40 yards. So I feel like he's almost QB proof in a sense, where you can take Justin Jefferson, feel really good about it, and not be worried about Sam Darnold's QB performance, because I think it would be safe to say that there's not much of a drop-off between Nick Mullins' quarterback play and Sam Darnold's quarterback play. Kevin O'Connell has proven as the coach that their offense is going to go no matter what, and it's going to go through Justin Jefferson, their best player. So I would say he's QB proof. I wouldn't be afraid of drafting him because of QB concerns. I would say if you were worried about injury concerns, that would be when I lean towards Amon-Ra St. Brown. But again, Amon-Ra St. Brown could get injured just as easily as Jefferson could. So if you want to reach for somebody that has the highest ceiling, go for Justin Jefferson. If you want to play it safe in your first round like I do and play a little more conservative and reach for those upside players later on in the draft, then I may lean towards Amon-Ra St. Brown if you have the opportunity to do so. But Justin Jefferson, great pick. I have no problems with that. It's just more of a preference thing for me. He goes 109 in this 12-man league. I think that's absolutely diabolical. I could definitely not recommend passing on him for the running backs, such as personal, I guess. So I guess it's debatable, but Jamar Chase and Garrett Wilson have no business going before Justin Jefferson. This is a very funny very funny draft. So, yeah. Christian McCaffrey didn't go 101 or 102, and now Garrett Wilson's being reached for. I don't know. I don't know what these people are doing. Do you think Kyren Williams will get off to a slower start, missing camp with the foot injury? Blake Corum might get worked in early. So, at first, I did feel that way. I felt that way because Sean McVay has shown us that he's usually not running out the same guy every year as the top dog, per se. Like, since Todd Gurley was in the offense, I think it was 2016, 2017, that was the only time that a running back in that Rams offense led their team in carries in consecutive seasons. But as I've come around more to the idea, I've kind of realized that it really has a lot more to do with injury than skills. And even though Kyren is in the boat of being injured, I still feel like Kyren Williams is a good second-round pick. In terms of can Blake Corum get involved early, I'm not 100% sure. Like, if we go back to last year, we felt like guys that were taken around that draft capital in Tank Bigsby and Zach Charbonnet were going to eat work away from Travis Etienne and Kenneth Walker. And when Kenneth Walker was healthy, that was not the case in either scenario. Zach Charbonnet really got going once Kenneth Walker got injured. So I would feel like Rams have an early bye, so maybe they get him acclimated after the bye week. That's usually a trend that I notice in rookie running backs. They won't get off to the hottest start, but they'll eventually end up working their way in after the bye week. So I wouldn't be so concerned about Kyren Williams. Even in this draft, he goes 104. I think this is more of a situation where they're going to keep him out of preseason games because there's really no reason to play preseason games at this point, unfortunately. But it's a great question, Dante, and I appreciate you asking. Now it's back to me. I have a chance to take a wide receiver. Really don't love what's here, but if I'm going to reach for the upside, I like Chris Olave more than I like Drake London, so I'm going to do that. Do I think Marvin Harrison Jr. has potential to be the number one overall wide receiver? Now, number one overall wide receiver, no. Wide receiver one, yes. The reason I don't think he has wide receiver one potential is not the skills, but let's take a look at the guys that go in the first round. We have Tyreek Hill. If he's healthy, he's wide receiver one. CeeDee Lamb has a chance to be wide receiver one, and they're probably going to be battling back and forth just like they were in the regular season. It's going to come down to who misses a game, and then the other one will be crowned wide receiver one. So that's why I really love taking Tyreek Hill or CeeDee Lamb if you have the first two picks in your draft. Kind of surprised that that's how this went. But let's say they both get hurt, right? We have Jamar Chase, who has the absolute potential to be the best wide receiver in the league, right? Pick is back to me. I kind of like Brandon Ayuk. Yeah, I'm going to take Brandon Ayuk. We have Jamar Chase, who clearly has potential to be a wide receiver one if he stays healthy the entire season and Joe Burrow doesn't go down with an injury. Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the NFL. I don't care what anyone says. So I just named off four guys, and I'm not even talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm not even talking about A.J. Brown. I'm not even talking about really anybody else. And then we have Marvin Harrison. So maybe his ceiling, for me personally, would be he cracks wide receiver 5 or wide receiver 6. But his floor would probably end up being where you're taking him around like wide receiver 11 to maybe as low as like wide receiver 14, 15. So I don't know if he has wide receiver number one overall potential. But given his situation, given his skill set, I think that his ADP is basically close to where his ceiling would be. So that's why I haven't really taken that many shares of him. But if you're in the back of this first round and you want to take him in the early second round, I have no problem with that. But in terms of your question, Dante, I don't really think it's possible for anyone other than 1, 2, 3, or 4 to hit wide receiver 1. And I know that I said I prefer Amon-Ra St. Brown, but it's more so because I know he's going to be a top 5 receiver. Like, he may not be number 1, but he's going to be somewhere in that top 5 if he stays healthy. He's very consistent. In terms of durability, he's played through an injury last year if you watch the receiver documentary. So I know that he's going to be in that mix. And then, if we assume Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers don't have the best of seasons or Rodgers gets hurt, if Devontae Adams really takes a step back in terms of the passing offense that's going to be there and the minimal times that they throw, even though he dominates the target share, and if, A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts can't get on the same connection, then Marvin Harrison can slide in there. But wide receiver overall 1, I don't think is in his range of outcomes. I made a video about this, evaluating the wide receivers this year. I liked Malik Nabers more than I liked Marvin Harrison in terms of just being a route runner and a football player. But I can't deny that Marvin Harrison Jr. is a way better situation. Do I think Drake London's ADP is too high? Yes. If he landed to me and this person took Brandon Ayuk, I would have been tossed up between taking a James Cook or a Nico Collins before I take a Drake London. But he does have the potential to finish as a top 12 wide receiver, but I think his current ADP really more so reflects his ceiling versus what the actual reality of the situation is. I'm not going to use the argument that he hasn't proven it because he wasn't in the greatest of offensive situations his first 2 seasons in the league. He definitely could break out in year 3, but I think he's a little overvalued, yeah. I wouldn't take, Mike Evans or Cooper Kupp before him. I wouldn't take Jalen Waddle. I almost said Jalen Waddle before Drake London. So I guess I would have ended up probably taking either him or Nico Collins if I was in that situation. But at least he's not going to have too many threats to take his target. So that's one good thing. My third wide receiver in a 12-man league could be Stephon Diggs. So I'm taking Stephon Diggs. That's easy peasy for me. Someone's probably going to snipe Kenneth Walker before I can get him, but you know what? I'll just wait it out for a second running back. It's all good. Now, that's funny. I think C.J. Stroud went in the last draft around 7 or 8. Now he's going at the end of round 4. Very volatile player that's kind of like a, up for interpretation. Like, how much do you value a C.J. Stroud? But Jalen Hurts going after Lamar Jackson is criminal. Lamar Jackson's my favorite football player, so I'm not trying to, make this a thing where I hate Lamar Jackson. Kenneth Walker goes a pick right before me, of course. Kind of like T. Higgins at this point. I'm going to go Dalton Kincaid. If someone's going to take Kyle Pitts before Dalton Kincaid, I will take the Dalton Kincaid and ride that train. Do I think Jaden Daniels has 1,000 rushing yards potential? Not in his rookie season, but definitely in future seasons. The reason why I say I don't think it's going to be in his rookie season is because, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I don't know if anyone's done that in their rookie season, rush for 1,000 yards. Of course he has the running skill and talent to do so, but he's got to learn the NFL first before he could rush for 1,000 yards. 1,000 yards is a lot, but I am someone that's very high on Jaden Daniels. I'm a little higher on him than maybe consensus is. I would take Jaden Daniels. Well, let me scroll down a little more so you could actually see. Definitely take him before Goff, before Tua. I would take him before Caleb. Definitely before Brock Purdy. And I would be inclined to take him before Jordan Love. I wouldn't take Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, or Anthony Richardson before him. But I think he's probably 8th, 9th best quarterback to take in fantasy this year. And I think he's going to be able to do it with, his high-level ball placement that he has. I'm not going to call him elite yet because he hasn't played in the NFL yet. But the tape is out there on Jaden Daniels. We know he's special. We know he's really talented. But in terms of a rookie having 1,000 yards rushing at the quarterback position, I think that's a little bit of a reach. If he has 800 rushing yards, I think that would be a phenomenal rookie season. So that's probably where I would make his benchmark. Let's see where they have his rushing projection. Yeah, he's projected 533 rushing yards. Not saying that's going to happen, of course, or be close to that, but I don't think 1,000 yards is something that we could expect, at least in year one. Year two, year three, different story. We don't know what the offensive situation is going to look like in those years, so a little early to try to predict like a 2025 breakout year for him. But I like Jaden Daniels a lot, and I like him as a quarterback, especially in fantasy, because of his rushing upside. George Pickens ends the 5th round. I think he's somebody that's a little too rich for my ADP taste. The reason I say that is because Zay Flowers and T. Higgins are just sitting here. And, well, he's a Steelers fan, so I get it. But to make your second wide receiver George Pickens and your first Jalen Waddle, I think that's nasty work. I don't really condone that. I may have a chance to take DeAndre Swift, which would be cool. T. Higgins starts the 6th round. Then it's not really a big deal because he's basically taking T. Higgins the same time he's taking George Pickens. But I still like Terry McLaurin more than I like George Pickens. We were just talking about how much I like Jaden Daniels. That means somebody has to come for the ride. I think that's Terry McLaurin. But yeah, looking to potentially grab DeAndre Swift if available. Probably not. Worst case, I can elect to go Najee Harris. I don't hate Najee Harris as much as the rest of consensus does. My favorite late round picks. So I kind of went over quarterback a little earlier. I have no problem doing it again. Being that I value Jaden Daniels before the quarterbacks I just mentioned, I think Tua and Goff are good late round candidates. If we're going to go by sleeper ADP, Jaden Daniels is the home run pick. If you play in a 2-quarterback league, I think Justin Herbert is a good value at this point. He's out of the walking boot. It looks like he's on track to play week 1. That was actually spoken about in my video today, if I'm not mistaken. No, actually it wasn't. I'm sorry. That was a video I recorded the other day, edited today. That'll probably go out on Monday, talking about how Justin Herbert is on track to play in week 1, so I'm not as low on him as everybody else is. I do need a quarterback. Joe Burrow is interesting here. I don't get the running back that I love in DeAndre Swift. Won't be an option, but if I had to take Raheem Mostert with my second running back pick, I'm cool with that. It's not the sexiest, but I can make do with that. Again, I'm taking QB and tight end back-to-back, which is a thing that I hate to do. But you know what? Rashee Rice. I love Rashee Rice. I think he's going to be special. But back to your question about my late round values, it's this guy. I personally love this guy. I don't know why people are so low on him. I think that obviously he had a high touchdown percentage last year, and that won't repeat. But if you play PPR, he has expanded his role as a pass-catching running back. I know that's one of Austin Eckler's great strengths, but I'm getting him at a significantly cheaper price on Sleeper than I would Austin Eckler. So I think that's a good value. I think at this point, there's no other running backs besides J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards making noise. So I like the idea of Gus Edwards vulturing a lot of the goal line carries for the Chargers. That's a good late round selection. Chuba Hubbard got hurt today. Otherwise, that would have been a great late round selection. I'm going to prepare for my pick, and then I'll talk about some of the wide receivers and tight ends so I can finish answering your question, Dante. Just waiting for this one pick to go by. I'm actually going to get Joe Burrow, where I had no expectation to draft him whatsoever in round 7, but here we are. I'm taking Joe Burrow if he's available. Now that I said that, he's going to magically double up on quarterback somehow. Nope. Okay, great. Let's talk about wide receivers. I think Brian Thomas is a good draft pick. That's kind of a late round guy, even though I'm kind of getting close to that. Curtis Samuel, I love. Like, if we really dive in and talk about who Curtis Samuel is as a player, he's an absolute gamer. He's somebody that's been in the league long enough where no matter what team he's on, he just finds a way to carve out a role for himself. And with the Buffalo Bills really only having Dalton Kincaid as like a top target getter, Curtis Samuel is going to make waves in this offense. I know there's a lot of good positivity coming out about Khalil Shakur and not Curtis Samuel, but if we're being honest, Curtis Samuel is a way more talented player than Khalil Shakur is. So I think Curtis Samuel is a very good value. I do like Jakobi Meyers, but again, if we're going to use the argument that I don't love Davante Adams this year because of his offensive situation, then I have to ride that train as well with somebody like Jakobi Meyers who plays on the same team. Troy Franklin, I have no business taking this year. I like... Who else do I like? Luke McCaffrey interests me. He's a rookie. We don't really know too much about him other than he's Christian McCaffrey's brother. But I think he finds himself as an interesting late-round pick. But we're going a little too late, I feel like. Let me scroll up and try to find somebody else. Yeah, we spoke about Curtis Samuel. I am a big Adonai Mitchell fan. I don't know if he's definitely going to be very prominent in the offense right off the rip, but I'm running into a problem where I don't have a second running back. I'm going to have to indulge and reach for somebody else. But, yeah, I like those guys. Mike Williams is interesting as long as he stays healthy. Who else do I love? I guess that's pretty much... Wan'Dale Robinson is a little interesting to me, even though that's a bad offense to be in. But let's talk about tight ends. I love Pat Freiermuth. Injury is obviously a concern for him. I think Isaiah Likely is very interesting as well. That's a very late round tight end pick. We know Mark Andrews is going to get hurt at some point. So, yeah. Best available running back is Devin Singletary. It's definitely not a pretty second running back to have. But when you have Christian McCaffrey going every week, you could afford to, have a lower tier running back, I guess. I'll take Tyjae Spears or Brian Robinson on the way back. I'm totally cool with that. Even though ADP suggests I take one of these wide receivers, Jackson Smith-Njigba would be a value. But given that I have 4 wide receivers that I would love to roll out every week, I'm totally okay with waiting again for a wide receiver. But Jackson Smith-Njigba definitely interests me. I don't know if this is really a late round pick. This is more of a mid round pick, but that's somebody that I am a fan of taking. But thanks for your questions, Dante. I really appreciate it. It's good to talk strategy. If you have any guys that I didn't name that you are a fan of, feel free to let me know. One that's very interesting always is Taysom Hill. Always finds a way to just finish as a top 12 guy. So if you really wanted to wait on a tight end, you could do that. Oh, Tyjae Spears went. I could take Deontay Johnson. That interests me, even though we just took him. I'm going to take Jackson Smith-Njigba. Yeah, one more wide receiver, not have to worry about it. Know that I have 5 guys I could roll out confidently, and I'll figure out the running back in the next few rounds. Like I said, I like Brian Robinson a lot. He might not end up even going. I like Gus Edwards, so I could probably realistically get one of those guys. Worst case, settle for J.K. Dobbins. I'm a Cowboys fan personally, unfortunately. It sucks for me, but I don't really see the hype on Rico Dowdle personally. I know a lot of people are like, oh, he could win the job as starting running back. As someone that's been watching him, he shows flashes, but I don't know if he can handle the full workload. What about Ladd McConkey or Josh Palmer? Ladd McConkey is a very good pick. I don't know if I would consider him late round, he just went at the 8-11. I personally think he's a super talented wide receiver, but I hate to use this excuse, but size is an issue at 6 foot, 185 pounds. He is really small for the wide receiver position, but I like Joshua Palmer. We know exactly what we're going to get out of somebody like Joshua Palmer. He might not have the touchdown upside that we want and need from a quality wide receiver, but in terms of volume, he's absolutely going to get it. JT or Saquon? First, thank you, Parker, for joining the stream. I really appreciate that. I almost feel like this is almost a cop out answer, but it really is a toss up between the two. Cause let's break it down. Let's break it down as is. We know that both Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley have their injury concerns. Saquon Barkley is a little older, so we've seen more injuries from him than somebody like Jonathan Taylor. They both have quarterbacks that could easily steal their goal line volume and opportunities to score rushing touchdowns from, like the 10 and in. But if you want the younger player, I would say go Jonathan Taylor. If you rather Saquon Barkley, I'd rather that. But to try not to give you the cop-out answer, and I had to go just purely off of instinct, I lean a little more towards Jonathan Taylor because he's younger. But I feel like it's like you really can't go wrong with either one. Hate for it to sound like a cop-out answer and not very insightful. But if you had to make me pick one, I would slightly favor Jonathan Taylor. I think they both are poised to have really good seasons. I have nothing good here running back to take. Trey Benson, why not? I need to stack up running backs. Somebody that probably won't even end up playing, but if James Conner goes down with an injury, then I'm okay with that. This is a league where I have to take a kicker in defense. Oh boy. So I really have to make sure I get the running back position down and in order. But I don't love anything that I have going at the running back position. I took McCaffrey and I kind of just disregarded that position. I didn't expect Brian Robinson and Gus Edwards to come off the board so fast. And I didn't expect to not get Blake Corum either. Zeke probably would have been a better pick than Trey Benson, but try to reach for a little upside here. No problem, Parker. Thanks for the question, because honestly, it is a great question, and it's a question that we do have to know the answer to when we're drafting. Like, who do we like slightly more? I just feel like their production is going to be so eerily similar that grabbing one of those guys, you're in a good spot. Like, I'm not saying that I don't like Saquon Barkley, and I'm not saying that I love Jonathan Taylor significantly more, but if I had to make the choice, it would be Jonathan Taylor. But there's a reason why their ADP is so eerily similar. It's because their production is projected to be so eerily similar, and they'll probably end up performing very similar. It's just, what kind of offense do you want? At least with Jonathan Taylor, we know for a fact, well, I shouldn't say we know for a fact, we know that Anthony Richardson is more injury prone than a Jalen Hurts. So if it ends up being that they have to play a backup quarterback in Indy, you don't have to worry about your goal line touches being vultured anymore. But either one is a great choice. Bijan or Breece in half PPR? Another great question. If you were twisting my arm and you had to make me pick one, I'm going to slightly favor... I'm going to slightly favor Bijan Robinson. I just trust more of the athlete than Breece Hall. I'm not saying Breece Hall isn't an elite athlete, because he obviously is. But I get that Breece Hall was on a really bad offense and finished as a top 5 running back. But if we're going to project, right, that the team is going, the Jets at least, are going to be more pass happy because they have Aaron Rodgers back and they don't need to rely on Breece Hall as much as they did at one point, then why wouldn't we project Bijan Robinson slightly better than Breece Hall? Like, why would we assume that the running back performance that Breece Hall is repeatable if Aaron Rodgers is going to be healthy and we're projecting Garrett Wilson to have all these touchdowns and all these receiving yards? It's back to me, and I need a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is on the board. I'm going to take... Oh, do I really want J.K. Dobbins? Yeah, I guess so. I need a running back. J.K. Dobbins, unfortunately. And then I'll take... I need a backup quarterback because Joe Burrow is almost a lock to get hurt. So I will have to take somebody else. I guess I'll take Kirk Cousins, but I really don't want to draft a guy that's coming off of an injury so soon. Mm. I'll wait one more round on a quarterback. I said I didn't like Rico Dowdle. He may just end up being the best available player here for me. I'm going to assume Chuba Hubbard is okay, and I'll just take Chuba Hubbard. I know it's not a great assumption, but I got to do what I got to do, and I don't get a backup quarterback. Oh, well. It's just a mock. No big deal. But, yeah, going back to Brees or Bijan, I slightly favor Bijan Robinson, but I don't feel so great about picking between the two. It's, again, kind of just like a toss-up, being that they're so eerily similar in rank and ADP. But if I had to pick one, Bijan. But these are great questions, Dante and Parker. If you're still on the stream, keep the questions coming. Absolutely love answering questions, especially ones that stump me like that. I'm going to go ahead and jump into another draft. No, I'm not picking from the 102 because we kind of just did 103. Let's see what else is available. Let's go pick 11. Yeah, let's go pick 11, 12-man league. Let me put myself on auto. How do I do this on the computer? I guess I'll just hit leave draft. They'll put me on auto. Yeah. All right, cool. Let's hope this fills up. If you guys want to see, me draft on Underdog, you want to see me draft on ESPN, let me know. It doesn't have to be sleeper. It's just, it's just what I'm on, so I'm just going to keep it rolling unless somebody says otherwise. Kelce or Laporta. Now, this one, I do prefer one significantly over the other, and I prefer Travis Kelce over Sam Laporta, even though they're ranked very similar. Ranked 20th overall versus 23rd. I don't really know if I believe that the production of Sam Laporta is going to repeat itself. I know there's no reason to believe that it's not going to repeat itself, but Travis Kelce can't really have as bad of a season as he did last year, at least in the beginning. Like, a lot of it was just abysmal, and then it started to get a little better at the end of the year, but I like taking Travis Kelce. I know that he's going to have the highest target share in his offense. So at least with that, I know that I'm getting somebody that's going to be fed the ball a lot. Not saying that Sam Laporta won't be, but he's always going to be second fiddle to Amon-Ra St. Brown. If we're projecting Jameson Williams to be better than what he's been, then that could be a concern in terms of targets, but I just like Travis Kelce as the tight end 1 overall, personally. If you wanted to take a tight end that early, I would prefer Travis Kelce. But again, these are great questions. Thanks for asking. Woo! Let's hope this fills up soon. If not, let's go to Underdog. See if there's anything at least close to filling that we could jump in, because then I'll just leave Sleeper. I kind of have more fun on Underdog playing for money, but that's just me. Like having a little incentive of getting after the bag, if you know what I mean. Doesn't look like this one's going to fill up anytime soon. Go to NFL. Do it. No, that's slow clock. I was going to say we could do a 10-teamer. Let's jump into a... I don't like doing 3 because it's like, what am I playing for, pennies? But that's the one that's kind of filled up the most. I don't know why it's telling me my location. Location permissions. Oh my goodness. No, that's just going to change that. What am I doing wrong? I don't know. Maybe I'm just glitching out. I don't know. Go to drafts. Go to NFL. Okay, you know what? I guess not. Thoughts on Caleb Williams? I am personally very high on Caleb Williams. I know I alluded to before that I would take Jaden Daniels before Caleb Williams. But I think Caleb Williams is a special talent at quarterback, and I think that there's no reason to be concerned about drafting him. Like, if you play in a 12-man league or a 10-man league and you wanted him to be your quarterback one, then by all means take him as your quarterback one. I'm totally cool with that. I'm personally not getting any more hyped about seeing him on Hard Knocks as maybe the rest of the fantasy football community is, or at least the media. Like, I was just watching Pat McAfee earlier, talking to Matt Eberflus, just getting excited about the Bears season. I've personally always been excited about the Bears season. I felt like they could make the playoffs. They're a very interesting team. But Caleb Williams, I think, is a go. I would take Caleb Williams before guys like Purdy, before guys like Jordan Love. Would take him over Tua, definitely over Goff. And yeah, I feel like if I had to quickly just give my top 10 quarterbacks, 1, 2, and 3 for sure. I would put Anthony Richardson at 4, Lamar at 5, Stroud at 6, or Burrow at 6, Stroud at 7, Dak at 8, Kyler at 9, and then 10 Jaden Daniels, 11 Caleb Williams. But assuming one of those guys that I mentioned beforehand gets injured, not saying I want that to happen, but say somebody did get injured, then yeah, I feel like there's a perfect opportunity for Caleb Williams to crack top 10. Whether it's guys like Burrow, Dak, or Kyler Murray who have had injury histories in the past. I know Dak has had hand injuries and not really knee injuries, but still a concern nonetheless. Let me see if I can figure out what's going wrong with my underdog and try to fix that off camera. Let me try to play around with that, and I'll be right back, Dante. All right, we're back. I did end up filling that. I'm going to leave this sleeper room because I guess drafts on sleeper are type dead right now. Let's see where I'm picking. Oh, I got the 112. Okay, so that's kind of good. That's somewhere I haven't been drafting yet, so that's a good sign. Let me hold on. Forgive me for the eye clutter. I'm gonna move my camera to the top left so you guys can see my team. Give me 1 second. And we're good. That's a lot better. I honestly hate pulling up OBS while on stream, but I only have one monitor. Until I get the YouTube checks flying in left and right, I'm going to have to just settle for it. It is what it is. But not drinking anything bad. I just got my Pepsi here. Don't mind me. Try to not have the pouring on the camera so you don't, not camera, in front of the microphone. So you don't have to hear that nonsense. But cheers, fellas. get a little nicotine in the system. Get a little bit of that going, and we're good to go. I have 112. What am I thinking about doing at pick 12? I'm probably going to double up on running back, knowing that everyone wants to take wide receivers, but we talked about it before, Dante. If I can get Marvin Harrison, he's ranked wide receiver 9 on Underdog. I'm totally okay with doing that if he falls to me, but I don't think he's going to fall to me. I don't think that's something I could expect to happen. But if I could get Caleb Williams in this draft, I want to try going low QB because I ended up taking Anthony Richardson early. I took Joe Burrow in the middle rounds. Now it's time to take the guys that I love to take, which are not Anthony Richardson, Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is one of my most drafted on Underdog, actually. And I'm sure Caleb Williams isn't too far behind that. So hopefully we could go with that kind of strategy. I'm personally not going to fade Jahmyr Gibbs. I have a lot of shares of Jahmyr Gibbs on Underdog. Okay, oh no, he didn't go. Okay. I'm going to take Marv. Because I don't know how many more elite receiver opportunities I'm going to have. I know I said I'm not going to fade Jahmyr Gibbs. But Jonathan Taylor tickles my fancy here at this point. But I'm going to go Jahmyr Gibbs. I got to stand on my business. I got to stand on my word. And my word is I'm not fading Jahmyr Gibbs despite the injury. Though it could linger, I'm going to take Jahmyr Gibbs. Haven't been looking at the stream, but I noticed we gained 5 subscribers. So thank you guys so much for can't even speak. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. I really appreciate that. Means the absolute world to me. Trying to make it out here as a small content creator. Hopefully one day I'm not a small content creator. And I can look back and say, oh, I remember my boy Dante. He used to show up in the streams. Or I remember Parker. He used to show up here and there. Or, of course, a day one like Theo. May not have been on the channel day one, but in terms of streaming, he's pretty much been there since the beginning. So shout out Theo if you're still there. Try not to forget about my dogs. Because you can't eat with those you didn't starve with. So to start the second round, I take Gibbs, followed by Taylor and Barkley. Again, these are just such eerily similarly ranked players. So I have no problem with picking one over the other. It's kind of just like a preference thing. But for Parker's question, I didn't want it to be a cop-out. I did want to make a decision. My top 4 picks in round 1. I think that's a great question. If it were up to me, if I was the guy who had the big platform like an ESPN or you watch Fantasy Pros or whoever you watch that make these rankings that whether you have to pay for them or people just live by them religiously. My top 4 in order. Now, I play in a PPR league, my home league, so I'm going to view it a little differently. If you play in half PPR, you'll probably follow the same protocol. If you play in a standard, maybe you take Christian McCaffrey 1. But my order would be Tyreek Hill. That is the number 1 player in my opinion. I think that when healthy, when playing 17 games, the guy would have broke 2,000 yards in a season. So Tyreek Hill is number 1 for me. CeeDee Lamb is number 2 for me. It's not biased because I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm a very depressed Cowboys fan. I don't get to see them win or do anything good. I am 27 years old, so I've literally been alive since their playoff drought, so I feel like I am the curse. So CeeDee Lamb would be my second pick, no bias. Third would be Christian McCaffrey. And fourth, I would say, is Justin Jefferson Shilly for upside. But someone like me, I kind of want more stability in my first round pick. And I feel like Jamar Chase doesn't provide that for me. We saw how bad it could get for A.J. Brown. And I would personally rather take the running backs later than take them sooner. Like, I don't have a problem if you want a Breece Hall or a Bijan Robinson. My thought process is, in terms of the wide receivers, like the elites, at least this works for the top two guys. These top two guys are going to score so much more points than the other wide receivers you take after them. Like, even somebody like me who's taking Amon-Ra St. Brown and wanting Amon-Ra, he can't score as many fantasy points as these two, right? We know that for a fact. So Justin Jefferson could potentially, but of course you have to face injury risk, and if you're concerned about QB concern. But I think the top four would be Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, Christian McCaffrey, and then Justin Jefferson. But if you play in a standard league, I could see why you would want the running backs. But the disparity between some of the higher scoring running backs, or at least the guys we're projecting to be the high scoring running backs, guys like Breece Hall and Bijan may not score significantly more points than the guys taken after, like a Derrick Henry, like a Jonathan Taylor, like a Saquon Barkley. So with that information, I would rather go get the wide receivers that I think are going to score more points, because I believe that disparity, like once we get to T. Higgins, let's say, or I don't see Jalen Waddle, maybe he was taken, maybe not. Yeah, no, he was probably taken. But like a Jalen Waddle can't score as many points as a Tyreek Hill, obviously, or can't score as many points as a CeeDee Lamb. I could use a wide receiver. This is a 3 wide receiver format, so let's go Pittman, followed by, I like Josh Allen, but we want to go for the approach of not taking a quarterback early. So let's stand on business and take Travis Kelce, because I think he's significantly better than Laporta. That'll be my double pick. I still need more running backs, but the running backs here are James Cook and Josh Jacobs. I don't love them, but the disparity between the running backs is actually less than the top apex wide receivers, in my opinion. So I would rather take the wide receiver early. I would rather take the running back in round 2 if possible. I know it wasn't possible for me in this draft, but I technically did because I got Jahmyr Gibbs. You know, it's flip-flop once you're at double pick. But I would take the 2 wide receivers that are going to score more fantasy points than Christian McCaffrey. Then I would take Christian McCaffrey because of positional advantage that he provides. And then Justin Jefferson would be the 4th guy for upside. If you rather Amon-Ra St. Brown, you rather Jamar Chase at 4, I can't fault you for it, but those would be my top 4. Like this guy, he decided to take Jamar Chase, that's fine. If you wanted the running back at 4, I see the argument for it. I just would rather the wide receivers. I'd rather take guys like Kyren Williams, Isaiah Pacheco, ETN, Derrick Henry. I know that they're not going to score significantly less than the top guys. And I know that CeeDee Lamb and Tyreek Hill will score significantly more than the rest of the pack. When it comes back to me, what would be the plan? I mean, obviously, looking at the board, I still have an entire round to go through. Not even done with round 4. But I like Ken Walker. I need a second running back. This is a 3 wide receiver format, so I could use a 3rd wide receiver. Rashee Rice goes very early. That's interesting, but I don't hate it at all. It's just something I didn't expect. I could consider a Calvin Ridley, but I don't know if that's a realistic approach. Over under for touchdowns on King Henry. Let's look at what Vegas has it at. I'm not really much of a betting line guy, but we could definitely look at what props are being offered. Well, this is not season long. player futures. Derrick Henry. Oh my God, why does Henry Ruggs show up before Derrick Henry? Rushing touchdowns. Over under is 10.5. Sounds realistic. I would probably even push that to 11.5. And I would say that 12 touchdowns is very realistic for somebody like him. That's the way I see it. I think he could score as high as like 18 touchdowns. Like if we go back, what did Gus Edwards score? 17 touchdowns last season? He had 13 rushing touchdowns. Like, this is clearly a better, significantly better player in Derrick Henry than it is Gus Edwards. And fun fact about Gus Edwards, actually, I went to the same high school as Gus Edwards. He was a senior in high school when I was a freshman. So I have known about Gus Edwards for quite a while. Not really biased towards him in any way. Just, this is a fantasy football channel. Let's just be honest about who these players are. And for a third wide receiver, I like Keenan Allen. I'm going to take Keenan Allen. Not really worried about age. But I would say if Vegas has it at 10.5, maybe I have it at 11.5. And I would say 12 touchdowns is realistic for Derrick Henry. But I think he could score as much as like 18 touchdowns, to be honest with you. It's a perfect situation. Breaking down like the way the Ravens like to run their offense, right? It's a lot of RPO concepts. They have two tight ends on the line. They have their running back in the backfield. And Lamar gets to make the decision. Does he want to keep it and run? Does he want to hand it off? Or does he want to, throw like bubble screens or quick routes to the flat to Zay Flowers and let him, do all the wiggling around and get open for himself? I think there's a lot of opportunity for somebody like Derrick Henry to be somebody that can't be game planned for, because we have a team like Baltimore has two really good tight ends. It's probably one of the better tight end rooms with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. And considering the fact that he, plays in an offense where they have to game plan more so around Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, and then also worry about Zay Flowers, the speed demon, the opportunity is there for him. Were people afraid of Gus in high school? That's a great question. I mean, as a person, I was not afraid of him. But to give you a quick little fun fact about Gus Edwards, hold on. We actually lost our high school championship. So I'm from New York. You could obviously look up where Gus Edwards went to high school to figure out that he went to high school in New York. And the championship game is played at Yankee Stadium. So we played a high school team, Erasmus Hall, called E-Hall, and we got absolutely destroyed, even though we had Gus Edwards. And the guy that absolutely destroyed us, I mentioned him on the stream a little earlier. He was a wide receiver. His name is Curtis Samuel, and he went on to go play for Ohio State. So he ended up being the difference maker in that game, which I find pretty ironic that we were talking about him earlier. But maybe that's why I hold Curtis Samuel in a higher regard, is because he absolutely destroyed Tottenville High School in the championship game in high school. So something to keep in mind, I think I'm a little higher on somebody like Curtis Samuel than maybe the rest of the world. But it's because I've seen it in person and I am aware of how good he was. For somebody to come from Brooklyn like he did, or at least his high school was in Brooklyn, to make it to get a scholarship at Ohio State University and end up being drafted in the NFL, talk about a resume. That's a great resume to have. So it was well warranted that he ended up destroying my high school in the championship game. But people did fear Gus Edwards. People knew who Gus Edwards was. And yeah, we had a pretty good team that year. Our quarterback went on to be the starter for Syracuse. Never got drafted or anything like that. I knew his brother personally because we went to middle school together. But yeah, good questions. Thank you, Dante. Making me reminisce about my high school days and how I'm washed up now. But yeah, Curtis Samuel, somebody not to be slept on. I'll tell you that much. He's an absolute gamer. I may even take him in this underdog draft. Who knows? Do I think Evan Ingram's ADP is too low? I'm not gonna say no, but hear me out on the whole tight end position, right? From year over year, typically 5, 6 guys repeat top 10 status, right? So if we look back at who was a top 10 tight end last year, we have guys like Kelsey, we have guys like Sam Laporta, we have, let me check who else has gone already in this draft. Trey McBride was one of them. Kyle Pitts and Mark Andrews were not. So I've already named 3 guys. Jake Ferguson was a top 10 tight end. David Njoku was a top 10 tight end. So those are, like 8 of them. I need a running back, so I'm kind of leaning towards Najee Harris here. But I also need more depth at wide receiver. So shout out my boy Curtis Samuel. Let's take him. I passed on Evan Ingram. Probably stupid. But going back to what I was saying, the tight end position is very volatile. So only maybe half of the guys get to carry over year to year. And he's one guy that carried over last year to year. So from 2022 to 2023, top 10 tight end. And I don't know if that's going to 100% repeat again, which is why I didn't take him. But I don't think his ADP is too low. I think where you're taking him is well warranted. Maybe, personally, I would say don't take Kyle Pitts before him. But, if we look at the tight ends and the tight end room that's being drafted, you have to take Mark Andrews first of all, because if he ends up being healthy, he's significantly better than Evan Ingram. I know I was talking down on Sam Laporta earlier, but Sam Laporta is a guy that could absolutely explode. I wouldn't take him before Dalton Kincaid or George Kittle, even though Kittle has his own injury concerns in his own right. But I think where he's being drafted is pretty fair. I don't have a problem with him going in round 8 on underdog. But, yeah. I think he's being properly valued. If you want to take him, I totally understand it. I'm personally worried about taking somebody who could potentially not repeat as a top 10 guy. Do I think Bowers will... I can't even speak. Bowers will be a top 12 tight end. So he would be in line to be second most in targets on the team, right? I don't think that he would have less targets than Jacoby Myers. But back to what I was saying about guys that need to break in as top 10 tight ends, he could find himself on the outside. Going back in history, at least, a lot of guys that are drafted as first round or early round tight ends, they don't boom their first season. Like Sam Laporta was a late round tight end, an absolute great story, something that we could have never seen coming realistically. I'm not going to act like I was like, oh, I knew he was going to be good, because I didn't. Jaden Daniels just went in round 8. Oh, my goodness. I guess we're taking Caleb, but I don't know if top 12 is in the range of outcomes, but I will say he will float around, tight end 11, 12, 13. I think his ceiling would be like tight end 11, which is why I'm not taking him. But history would show that, high capital drafted tight ends don't boom in their first round. They just don't. So I would rather take guys like Njoku. I personally am huge on Pat Freiermuth this year. I think he's somebody that has the potential to be a lot better than what people think he is. Injuries is obviously a concern, but if he's going into the offseason healthy, I have to believe he's going to end up being healthy. But top 12, maybe not out of the range of outcomes, but I wouldn't bet on it happening. But it's a great question. Like we saw Dalton Kincaid last year, early round tight end, high capital. We all thought he was going to be a top 10 tight end. Finished at 11 in PPR. So maybe Brock Bowers could follow the same situation, but keep in mind Dalton Kincaid is in a significantly better offense than Brock Bowers. So the offense is a little concerning to me. I would rather Njoku. I'd rather Pat Freiermuth. I would even take a chance on Goddard or Ertz. Cole Kmet, being that he's going to be almost fourth, fifth fiddle in the offense, I'm not really worried about taking him. And then at that point, I would just wait for some of these lower tier guys that have higher upside, like Noah Fant, Tyler Conklin, before I take a Brock Bowers. It's just the ADP for me personally. Wow, I missed out on Dak and Caleb Williams. This draft is not going my way. I almost feel like I have to reach for Tua. Because I'm not really a big Brock Purdy guy. He was absolutely amazing last year. I was almost about to drop an F-bomb and curse, but trying to keep the stream PG friendly. I'll probably end up... I have 4 wide receivers that I really like, so maybe I'll take the running back here and then reach for the quarterback. But let me see. Yeah, I'm not the only one that didn't take a quarterback, so if I don't take Tua, I'm SOL. So let me take Javonte Williams and let me take Tua because I'm afraid that I won't get a quarterback that I like on the way back. And if I could get Jared Goff, I'll double him up. I'm cool with that. But if this is your guys' first time in the stream, let me just start by saying thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. If you have any fantasy football questions, now is the time to ask. Feel free to do so. And yeah, let's keep it rolling. I have 20 picks before my next pick. I'm going to try. You know what? Yeah. I'm going to go run to the bathroom real quick. Hopefully I can make it back before my pick. If not, let me queue up some guys that I want. If y'all need to go do your thing, go grab a drink, go grab a snack, now would be the time to do so. As I go get right real quick. And yeah, all right, I got 2 guys on the board. Tua is slender this year. That's kind of interesting to me. I didn't really know about that. I still feel like Tua is a good pick, but obviously injury is a concern, so I'm going to have to double up on quarterback regardless. But I'll be right back, Dante. Hold the phones. And I'm back. Sorry about that. Still got plenty of time before my pick. Looks like I will end up getting Jared Goff. I could double up on quarterback like I want to. Tua being slender, I guess that kind of concerns me. I liked everything that I was hearing going into camp last year. Like he was taking Muay Thai classes to try to build up some of that head strength, upper body strength so that he didn't get injured, which I love the idea of. But, yeah. Being that he's slender, obviously that can mean some more injury concern, but we'll see how it goes. I'll take another QB for insurance purposes. I have no problem doing so. Let's see what I missed in terms of draft picks. After I take Tua, Rashid Shaheed, Romeo Doubs, Jacoby Myers, some running backs. Jordan Mason is a very good pick. For those that are not in tune, Jacoby, what the hell am I saying? Jordan Mason is supposedly the running back 2 to Christian McCaffrey. So this guy steals McCaffrey's handcuff. If anything were to happen to Christian McCaffrey this year, it seems like he's going to end up being the guy. Jared Goff goes, so that's a big L for me. I'm not going to get the highly talented quarterback as a backup that I wanted, but I guess I'll take Herbert on my double pick. It is what it is. It's not my favorite pick, but it'll do. I'm one pick away. He's got one running back. Better be a god running back. And it's Jonathan Taylor. And he takes Zach Charbonnet, leaving me Austin Eckler. I'm cool with that. And should take Herbert. Should take Herbert, but I will. You know what? I kind of like some of the later tight ends. I'll just take Herbert just because I know that I'll have a quality quarterback to back up Tua that way. But if you stuck around and you're still watching, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Might just end up making this the last draft that I do for the night because it's already getting late. Had a lot of people leave when I went to go run to the bathroom, which is unfortunate. But it is what it is. The stream keeps on going. And if you have any more questions, now would be the time to ask. After I take Herbert, Ty Chandler, who I really like, comes off the board, followed by Dalton Schultz and TJ Hawkinson. So I might not get the tight end that I love, but having Travis Kelce the whole year is not an L, but I do need someone to slide in for week 6 and do the dirty work for me. Definitely going to need that. But we'll see how this goes. Chuba Hubbard comes off the board and Xavier Legette. So now the Panthers are coming off the board. I do need to dip back and get wide receivers because now I have 5 running backs. And to be honest, I like my 5 running backs, so I know I don't have to touch that anymore. I could start taking dart throws at wide receiver. Definitely need a backup tight end for Kelce. But if I look at the draft board, I have 1 pick to make for the tight end, and then I could just start throwing dart throws at wide receiver, which is cool with me. Who am I going to land? That is the question. Let's start looking at the tight ends at least. I don't love my options here. Definitely don't. But I guess I'll wait on Tyler Conklin. Find out who the Jets are playing week 6. Jets week 6. Oh, they play the Bills. Okay. I could definitely see that being a game where Tyler Conklin finds his way into the end zone. A little tough-nosed, interesting matchup. Luke Musgrave comes off the board, so tight ends are running thin. Could take Isaiah Likely, but I don't know if I'm going to bet on that talent too much. I could take Conklin and Likely with my double pick and then figure out later on some of these low-key wide receivers that have a chance to be a lot better than what people expect to be. Like a Luke McCaffrey. Now is the part of the draft, Dante, where you're going to actually see for real what kind of wide receivers that I like and what ones I don't like. I do like Rashad Bateman, but there's always injury concern with that guy. I do love him, but Andre Yosevich, he interests me a lot this year. I already have a video about him, so if you're new to the channel, haven't watched my videos, definitely go check out my 3 sleepers your league mates have no idea about video. I talk about Andre Yosevich, talk about Jalen McMillan, and I did talk about Chuba Hubbard, even though he's kind of more well-known. I guess that's kind of more clickbait. But, hey, you got to do what you got to do in this content creating world. I'm about to come back to my pick. Hopefully nobody takes the tight ends that I want. That would be very unfortunate. Not looking to take Hunter Henry. It's just not an offense I don't want to get behind. I like Noah Fant because there's just no way that he can score 0 touchdowns again. But that really shouldn't be an indicator or a sign to draft somebody. So I'm going to try to not do that. If I don't have to, at least. Marshawn Lloyd would be an interesting pick here, but I already have 5 running backs I feel really good about, and I need to hammer wide receivers. So let me go ahead. Gonna take Adonai Mitchell. No. I mean, yeah, I'll take Adonai Mitchell. I have Michael Pittman Jr. already, so that's kind of why I was hesitant about it to begin with. But if I don't take Tyler Conklin here, I don't know if I will get Tyler Conklin, so I have to just kind of do that. I don't love taking Tyler Conklin there, but I am desperate for a backup tight end, so I have to do what I have to do. Now, at this point in the draft, I guess I could go back to running back, but I missed all the running backs I would have been willing to take. So, Jalen McMillan is very interesting to me. May end up taking him. Josh Downs I like, but how many Colts am I going to take on one team? Like, that's just ridiculous. It's not really a good recipe for success, especially in best ball, where I have to set a lineup with 3 wide receivers every week. Week 14, I would have literally just 3 guys. And God forbid one of those guys gets hurt, then I have nobody. So I'm going to have to try to find somebody else. DJ Chark tickles my fancy. But hopefully I could land Jalen McMillan first. And then I could worry about who I'll take otherwise. If I miss, well, not if I miss, but if I take an Andre Yosevich, there's a good chance I miss out on DJ Chark and vice versa. Have no interest in taking a guy like Quentin Johnston, even though there's just no way he could be as bad as he was last year. But I'm not gonna bet on that personally. I'm trying to win the money here, you know what I mean? I like Adam Thielen, but I obviously am not going to expect a 1,000-yard season from him or anything like that, or 100 receptions. We'll see what lands to me. I would be okay with taking him. I just know that I need wide receivers at this point in the draft. You know, guys have like 7 wide receivers on their team, and I'm just rocking 5 of them, and 2 of them play on the same team. So it's really like I only have 4. but the running backs, we got some good running backs. My worst running back is Austin Eckler. Like, I'll take that. My QBs, they're not sexy, but one of these guys has a chance to break top 12. My tight end is Travis Kelce, so that's like a set it and forget it type of thing. And now I just need to focus on the wide receiver position. My draft is pretty close to being a done deal. So, for those that are still in the chat, if you're still sticking around, Dante, if you're still here, if you have a draft strategy that you want to see me draft as, if you have like a 4th overall pick or you got the 8th pick, whatever the case may be, you play on ESPN, let me know if you want to see me mock as, from the 108 or whatever on ESPN or on Sleeper. You want to see another underdog best ball, just let me know. We can make it happen for you. For those that stick around and support the channel, whatever you guys need, I'm willing to provide. I'm just appreciative that someone wants to sit at home and just watch me yap away in front of a computer screen. It looks like I may have a chance to get Adam Thielen. I'm totally cool with doing so. It's not the prettiest pick, but when a guy like Jalen McMillan gets sniped from me just a few picks before, it's kind of like I'm leaning towards taking him. Wan'Dale Robinson's a good pick. We'll say that. I'm going to take Adam Thielen because I'm going to need that like week 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of support. Just in case like a Marvin Harrison doesn't get going or a Keenan Allen gets off to a slow start or maybe Curtis Samuel's not as good as I think he is. I'm going to need somebody that could carry. And, I almost want to, yeah, you know what? I'm going to take Andre Yosevich and then I want to see if there's any news about Brendan Rice. I'm going to take Brendan Rice as one of my last picks. When it comes back to me, is that my last double pick? It is. All right, so one of my last picks will evidently be Brendan Rice. I know I don't have to worry about somebody sniping me on that. And then who would I take as my other wide receiver choices? I guess Treylon Burks interests me. I mean, we were very high on him a year ago. And in terms of his offense, not really much has changed. He's probably going to see a lot of the field with DeAndre Hopkins being out the first few games. That kind of interests me. He's obviously third fiddle now to Calvin Ridley and Hopkins, so I guess much has changed, and I was wrong about that. But at least for the first few games, I have somebody that's really good. Luke McCaffrey interests me. Maybe I'll take him and Brendan Rice. I like taking rookie wide receivers because it's just like the fountain of unknown. Like a lot of these guys could really pop off. And there's so many other guys that are, considered highly talented. Like if you miss out on that like Ladd McConkey tier or guys that are drafted before that, then you still have a chance to get somebody impressive like a Luke McCaffrey later on. Or a Roman Wilson per se. Is Calvin Austin still available? He is. That is something that interests me too. But at this point in the draft, one thing I'm worried about is I don't want to take somebody that's going to evidently end up being a 0 for me. Like, I don't want to take somebody that has no chance to be productive at all in best ball, which is why I want to lean towards Luke McCaffrey. Jalen Hyatt's not a bad choice, but it's not my favorite choice. But again, if anyone in the chat has a specific draft format that they want to see or a spot that they want me to pick from, I will happily do so after I make my double pick. If not, probably just wrap it up and call it a night. Been live for, I don't know how long. I guess maybe like 2 hours now. Maybe a little less than 2 hours. But nice little lengthy stream, you know. Something light. I do need... I almost feel like it's wrong to not take another running back, but if Audric Estime isn't there when I pick, I really don't love anyone else. I mean, I guess Will Shipley isn't a bad option. Who's that kid on Philadelphia that I like? I think it's Johnny Wilson, right? Nope, not Johnny Wilson. His name is Johnny... Yeah, Johnny Wilson. Why did his name not pop up when I typed it? They got me out here questioning my fantasy knowledge. Like, come on now. I know what I'm talking about. Johnny Wilson kind of interests me. What team does Quez Watkins... Oh, no, Quez Watkins is in Pittsburgh. So maybe I take Johnny Wilson because he's kind of a... But then I miss out on Brendan Rice. Because I'm taking Luke McCaffrey here. Taking brother of Christian McCaffrey, for sure. And I said I would take Audric Estime, so let me stand on business. We'll take Audric Estime. That's probably going to be my night. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really do appreciate it. My name is Turtle. I'm going to call it a wrap from here. Thank you guys so much for watching. On Monday, I'm going to have a video rolled out, so stick around for that. And as always, hope you guys have a wonderful night, and I'll see you when I see you. Peace.